So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Avnesh Gulati. Welcome to the CXO Leadership Think Tank Roundtable powered by GitLab and Reddington. We look forward to a very insightful discussion today. Thank you all to all the esteemed panelists sparing time from their busy schedules and joining us today. I would now like to invite and welcome Mr. Samir Akub, Solutions Architect at GitLab, and Ms. Himaji Kushwaha, Business Manager at GitLab at Reddington, to do the context setting for today's panel discussion, please.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Avnesh. I'll start sharing my screen. Please let me know if you are able to see my screen. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Avnesh, for this. Thank you so much, panelists, for joining the session today. We at Reddington, we are the authorized GitLab distributor partner in India, and we are very happy to invite you for this virtual roundtable today. I hope you know a little bit about Reddington. We are the one of the largest distributor and supply chain solution provider in India, and we have partnership with nearly 245 brands across the world, and we have a channel partner ecosystem of more than 12,000 partners in India. And one of our big thing is that we have a global footprint as well, not just in India. We are very much one of the top distributors in Middle East and Africa. But today I'll talk very briefly about our partnership with GitLab. We have become partner with GitLab as an authorized distributor almost a year ago, and in that 1 year itself, we have been able to make a partner ecosystem of more than 75 register partners. We have closed approximately 100 plus deal in India itself through our ecosystem of partners. We are at Reddington, we are the extended marketing and training arm to GitLab in India, because GitLab is based out of multiple countries across the world. We are also have been able to successfully conduct a lot of today is one of the roundtable. We have conducted many roundtables, webinars, and summit in the past. At Reddington, we have also built our own GitLab certified professional services team consisting of sales and pre-sales and delivery. And we have been able to sell GitLab licenses and managed services to big, a lot of big enterprise customers like DRDO, ISRO, Indian Bank, AU Small Finance Bank, Piramal Group, Muthoot Finance, and Tata Digital, White Hat Junior, Bajaj Allianz, among others. So this is just a very small gist about what is the partnership that we have at Reddington and GitLab. I'll not take much of your time, and I will now hand it over to Samir. Samir is the solution architect from GitLab. Samir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Indari. Thank you for the great introduction. I won't take a long time. I'm happy to share my screen. But you know what, before even doing that, let me introduce myself and my colleagues. I have many colleagues from GitLab on the call. I can see them. So to start with myself, I'm Samir Akub. I'm a Channels and Alliances Solutions Architect for the APAC region. I had a team of one, which is myself so far. And my job is to work with our main channels and distributors. And of course, Reddington is on top of the list to make sure that our customers and partners through Reddington are successfully adopting GitLab, and they can see the value, the ROI out of their investment in GitLab. I saw maybe I would give a quick turns to my colleagues here, if you don't mind, maybe in 30 seconds each, quickly. Amit, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thanks, Sama. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Amit. Very good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Amit. I'm based out of Delhi. I have recently joined. When I say recently, it's been almost 10 to 12 days. I'm also learning, and I will be managing the channel ecosystem for India. Yeah, that's a short, brief introduction from mine.
Thank you. And Ishan, please.
Yeah, thanks, Samar. Good evening to everyone. I'm Ishan. I take care of enterprise sales, precisely large accounts within India for GitLab. I've been with GitLab for more than 3 years, and I've been there working with customers. The focus has always been on adapting GitLab all throughout and building those adoption journeys over a period of time. So that's been my focus over the last 3-4 years.
Awesome, thank you. And definitely, last but not definitely least, Wempe, please.
Hi. Thanks, Samuel. So I also run the channels organization together with Amit. I cover a different region. I cover Southeast Asia and Taiwan. And actually, prior to Amit coming on board, I was also managing or working closely with the India partners for GitLab's business in India as well. Right, great to see everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. So here, let me please share my screen, and I'll just dive into it. When somebody asks me, like, what does GitLab do, or what's the value of bringing GitLab in the market, right? The very brief 2 cents on this, the very short version of it, is as simple as in the last 10-15 years at least, people have been trying to go to market fast. That's like a number one, and in the same time reducing the cost, which are, if you think of them, these are contradictory objectives. You are putting less resources and you want to produce more. So as a reaction, in order to solve this, organizations have been trying to automate as much as possible the operation and the deployment and the development of their applications. Basically, to go to market fast and to go to market safely. And we have seen, I'm sure you have all heard about all the incidents or crashes or accidents which end up the customer showing on the news with any being hacked or with data leaks, right? So nobody wants to be featured on the news, and still they all want to go to the market first. So it's a little bit risky situation. That's why they've been trying to add pillars, like to add solutions, automation tools, right, to automate as much as possible. Now, the problem is each and every team, because these organizations, most of them are huge, big organizations, they've been adding pillars, solutions. Automation, the code building, automation, the code testing, automation, the code security testing, automation, the code deployment, not to mention the source code management itself and the planning phases, which is usually a totally different department. Now, it's fine. Things got matured enough, and then they decided, okay, instead of having 5 tools for each of these phases, we will have 1 tool of each. The problem is the tools which were introduced to make things faster and simpler became themselves the bottleneck.
Did we lose him?
I think we.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is an internet connection issue, I believe.
Can you hear me, please? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Samar, you're back.
So I think, Madhu, there's some sort of a issue with the network. Can we kind of move further? Probably we could come back to this during the summit.
Am I back, please? Can I hear me now?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Sorry. And this is exactly what I was talking about, the reliability in service, right? When you really need it, right? Okay, and this is what you get when you pay the maximum in the internet. Anyway, the thing is, and this is where GitLab came in the picture. We are the only DevSecOps platform that provides a consolidated experience, a streamlined experience from idea all the way to production, which includes the planning stage, the collaboration stage, which is a hugely important thing, in connection with the development stage, the security and testing, and the deployment. What does that mean? It means that a business analyst today, actually a decision maker, a stakeholder, can put an idea literally as documenting the idea. And in 2 days, he can track down the line of code that is being built to produce or to implement that idea, while the CEO of the organization can track down from the same tool, same platform, how many times things have been deployed to production successfully. Right. Now, does that mean that people have to rip and replace everything they have in order to implement GitLab? The answer is 100% not. It's not. And it's most of the time, it's not a big bank, especially if you already, and I'm sure everybody on the call, you already have something implemented in your organization. The idea here, we do respect people decisions or tools, right? The idea here is to minimize as much as possible the need for any external tool. Actually, you can eliminate the need of any external tool to implement a DevSecOps platform. But if the decision to integrate with external tool, GitLab does coexist and run with, let's say a Jira thing or security thing you have, or deployment, or whatever other solutions you have. So I promised him that to do in 2-3 minutes. I know it's like 5 minutes, but yeah, that's the shortest version I could put. I'll back to you, Hindari.
Thank you so much, Samir. Thanks for turning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, coming to our much awaited panel, let me give you all a brief introduction of our all-star panel speakers. We have with us Amit Dhawan. He's the Chief Information Security Officer at Quantipi and has a demonstrated history of working in the banking and the IT/ITS industry. Amit is skilled in risk, computer forensics, information security, project planning, and team management, and an expert of strong information technology professional with a PGP focused in artificial intelligence and machine learning from the University of Texas at Austin. We also have with us Avinash Velhal. He's a Chief Information Officer at Catonic. He has more than 34 years of cross-functional experience at IT across wide gamut of areas in IT governance, compliance management, IT outsourcing, infrastructure and service management, software development, business delivery, and marketing. Avinash has managed a major IT integration across 8,000 plus employees across 7 metros in India in coordination with global teams. The next speaker is Babita BP, is a Chief Information Security Officer at CSB Bank. She has more than 21 plus years of vast experience in IT and information security with CISA, DISA, and ISO. She's an expert in IT risk assessment and risk mitigation. Babita has best knowledge in IT architecture, application, implementation, operation, and support. Adopted risk-based approach in the design, development, and operation of various system controls for information technology. We have with us Dilipa Kumar Kuntia. He is the head of technology at Annapurna Finances Private Limited. Dilipa is an experienced executive with over 15 years of experience in information technology, delivering technology and strategic enterprise solutions in the IT and the finance industries. He has extensive project development experience, including requirement gathering, business process reengineering, analysis, design, development, and quality assurance. We have with us Mr. Himanshu Chuk. He's the Global Cyber Assurance and Compliance Leader at Fidelity International with 18 plus years of experience in Line 1, Line 2, and Line 3 cybersecurity function. Himanshu is proficient in managing risk assessments and IT audits basis international controls framework and various standards such as SOC, ISO, COBIT, NIST designed and implemented IT risk. We have Mr. Sunil Kulkarni. He's a Chief Information Security Officer at Bajaj Housing Finance Limited and an expert in handling confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information systems. He advises he's an advisor and engineers secure solutions for business opportunities. Sunil has development or adoption and enforcement of information security policies, guidelines for system, risk analysis and management, documentation management and controls, information access controls, and sanctions for failure to comply. We have Varundeep Kaur. She's a Chief Information Officer at Spice Money. She has more than 14 plus years of stronghold of BI and DWH end-to-end implementations, telecom project, user interface, O&M, transition, project management, program management, business analysis. Varundeep is well versed with the telecom domain and has a strong foothold on Oracle and Sybase databases. Just 1 minute, please. Sorry. We also have with us, last but not the least, we have Surbhi from Deloitte. Surbhi has 15 plus years of consulting experience working with industry leaders and helping them with their growth strategies, both organic and inorganic, and has helped businesses with their digital transformation initiatives. During her journey, she has been associated with industry clients across sectors, including telecom, oil and gas, banking. One of her recent digital transformation strategy project has been with the government-owned steel manufacturer in India. She's joining us from Deloitte Sama, which is the strategy, analytics, and M&A practice today, and she'll be moderating the session. Thank you so much for joining in, everyone, and over to you, Surbhi.
Thank you, Avnish. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be sharing the forum with you. To start and introduce you to the topic, we'll be discussing digital transformation in the application development space. The objective of this session is to brainstorm and understand what are the trends that we see emerging into the application development area. What are those new ways of working that the organizations are moving towards? Any security vulnerabilities you may have come across, and how the organizations are handling it in today's time. In addition, if there's any specific, continuous improvement initiatives that the organizations are working towards in uplifting and modernizing the application development space, how are we actually doing that day-to-day business? Yeah, so that's the broad level discussion areas. To kickstart the conversation, my first question is to take some opinion around the table on the digital transformation initiatives that you must have recently seen in your organization. Can I take the liberty to nominate someone, or I'm okay if people want to participate by themselves?
Whatever way you feel, Surbhi, is right.
Sure. Sure, Varundeep, since you are the first one, let's start the forum with you.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So in terms of digital transformation, I would first like to say one thing, that any digital transformation effort or initiative cannot happen without a business operating model change. So like first, organizations usually decide what is the operating model they are into, whether it is diversification, replication, coordination, or unification that is there. That will define like what kind of tools and frameworks that they will deploy and they will utilize in the entire process. Here, in terms of digital transformation, what I see as frameworks or tools that is a high demand for faster go-to-market, faster execution, and doing or optimizing the process in such a way that we can deliver results to business faster. In today's world, the CIOs or CISO's role is not only inclined towards technology. They have to have business goals into mind, and that is where their role of innovation, disruption, and transformation comes into play. Since we are working into financial services and serving the rural India, tier 3 and tier 4 cities, what we have figured out that people want easier to use applications, because these people do not have access to sophisticated applications, and they don't understand much about security, and you cannot bring in a lot of awareness to them saying that, okay, you don't do this or you do this. That means your applications or your transformation efforts need to cover for that particular stuff. In terms of the tools and frameworks which I talk about, is this like we have adopted a lot of automation processes, like RPA tools are there, where we have automated a lot of processes which were manual, which have helped us to reduce complaints in order to optimize the processes, liberating people out of the manual and menial efforts where there were human errors which were there. And in terms of security also, where we have tried to differentiate between where to have human in the loop and where to have human on the loop. Apart from that, there are initiatives which deal with low code, no code tools, where we have workflow engines and business rule engines, which have actually optimized the way we work. And apart from that, the code development, because here we are talking about largely about the software development. One thing which is very important is to automate the entire pipeline that we are dealing with. Being into financial services, GRC processes are very important for us, and these processes need to be auditable at all points. So here what we have also ensured that apart from the initiatives that we are taking, we don't leave risk, compliance, governance and security far behind. There are three key pillars which we are using in order to bring all the transformations, all the initiatives that we have. One is the user and the customer experience that we have. Other is related to data. Data is a big enabler. And a third one is security aspects. So once these things are there, and you cannot have them as a blockers, or you cannot, if you go to any business user and say, for doing the security, for doing the governance, I need X days extra, nobody is going to give you, and no business is going to wait for that. So here, in terms of data also, if you see, we have chosen right technologies where we do not have to spend much time in optimizing and maintaining those processes, where we can focus on more on the development process. And that too, if it is possible to involve the business users, like I talk about workflow engines. So here, in adopting that would have helped us introduce into our organization the concept of citizen developers, where they are creating the processes, they are validating it, and the software engineers are only stitching the APIs and doing what they do the best. And apart from that, we believe that these the security, the finding issues or bugs have to shift left. It cannot be after a software developer has created an application and then somebody will report bugs and that they will say that is there. In terms of, there are many tools which are available, which we have built into the CI/CD pipeline itself, which takes care of the security, which takes care of your bugs or issues, the UAT test cases that are incorporated into that particular pipeline. And apart from that, if I have to further summarize in terms of digital initiatives, I will call it, for our organization, it is RPA. It is your data and data IP, building data IP. Data fabric is something which we are exploring, and using AI ML in order to create better and differentiated products. And the fourth one is the low code, no code initiatives, which I feel largely, if I have to summarize, this is the one.
Very nicely summarized. Thank you, Varundeep. You captured a lot of trending items, especially around the compliance. You covered security. You also covered low-code platforms. Throughout the application development lifecycle, you have touched upon the tools that you have been using and how you're adopting new ways of working as well, right? So while we'll come deeper into those topics eventually, I just wanted to take some more views on this question and understand if there are other emerging trends that leaders have seen in the market. Can I pass the baton to Amit? Can you, would you like to take the, yeah?
Yeah, sure, Subhi. Actually, Varundeep has covered a lot of these aspects. But what we see from a digital transformation perspective, a lot of it depends on the technology. And yes, obviously, it depends on the business. Or rather, I will not even call it business directly. I will call it, three particular directions based on which a digital transformation is taking place. One is the social economic agenda in the world. How do you bring down cost? How do you bring in more efficiency? And that is what business is trying to do. Anything that saves those things is what is helpful, and that is what percolates down into all the actions which people are doing. The second is availability of that kind of technology. Your infrastructure as a code helps things in that direction. You can create a complete infrastructure and shut it down in a matter of minutes, which was unheard of years back. And the third is obviously the security element, which is enabling these activities to be carried through. And yes, a lot of cultural change in an internal organization that needs to be done, both from a development side as well as a sustenance side. And from a technology standpoint, yes, there are a lot of changes that have happened. The focus again is on faster, productionalization, so that you can reach the market quickly. The competition in each space is so high that if you don't get the first mover advantage, it becomes very tricky for you to survive. So that is the speed, and automatically to reach that speed, you need automation, or you need faster uh, production of all these activities. So this is the direction of digital transformation, driving it from the uh, agenda outside and going internally into how it is developed and how it is obviously secured. Uh, I think that's about it. And yes, I agree with Varundeep when she said the shift left on security, as well as on creating those codes, because as you shift left, you spend less amount of time in rectification later on.
Sure, sure. So, Avinash, would you like to also comment on anything that we might have missed out? Avinash Velhal, can you hear me?
As usual, normal video conferencing, mute and mute. So I really resonate with what Varun Deep and Amit has said. The digital transformation post-COVID has really put up a challenging environment, and today's environment is so fast-moving and agile. I mean, I would identify some 5-6 trends which are going out in the environment where we need to really focus on, which is impacting our software development. Primarily, complete business process automation has come to a fore, because looking at various digital transformation projects, more and more in terms of hybrid working, you're putting a lot of business processes are getting automated, from maybe marketing, customer support, sales, accounting, finance, etc. And going forward, more ML and AI will be helped using business cases based on this enterprise data. So business process automation is really putting a lot of focus onto our development activity. So our erstwhile architectures also need to change, because post-COVID, the entire processes framework has changed. So we really need to relook at our enterprise architectures and restructure the whole stuff. Maybe we'll have to rip and replace many of those things. Right now, coming up on the horizon is the 5G, which will be giving a greater reliability, flexibility, security, and bandwidth. And it is going to unshackle us from our metro-based, development centers and ODCs, etc. We may be trying to penetrate more into across the country, and the level of skill sets which will be available will be varied. So that's one big impact which may come up because of the 5G coming up. As Varun Deep has already said, low code, no code has come to the forefront, because now you need to have to be very agile, and to improve agility, you have to have some higher productivity, which can provide you a faster transformation and effective risk management, so that you have these components which can be quickly put up and reused and redeployed. In all these things, the major thing which is happening is democratization of AI. So which is happening because of everything is shifting to data, and this is resulting into a lot of algorithms which have to be built. They have to have very intuitive interfaces, and cloud computing platforms are just enabling the whole stuff. So AI is coming to the forefront. Like the company which I'm working for, Catonic, provides a complete tool framework which can quickly deploy open in tools, etc., and build your environment. It's no more kind of a very complex thing. Even a basic person who has a proper understanding can start working on these projects. Of course, you need to have your data scientists who can model, but rest of the stuff, a lot of things are very getting commoditized. Another significant thing which is impacting us is digital payments. So with the digital payments coming into the forefront and ONDC network coming up, there is going to be a lot of play into high techs like blockchain deployment, DLC, DLT environments, AI components, and interfacing with our payment structures. So that is coming to a fore, which is going to be a completely different arena where we need to start focusing, because it was never focused earlier, and now it's come up in a big way. Doing for all this, there is a multi-cloud architecture which has to be looked at, so that we have ensure disaster recovery, resilience, security, and all the data residency requirements. So all these things are putting a very complex environment in front of us, and we need to really look at what are the tools we're using, how are you using it, what frameworks are you using for deployment. And as it's rightly said, cybersecurity is the core part of, now it's a nucleus of every software code. It's not like complete development, I would say, for the software code. When you are working in a low code, no code, or a faster agile development environments, those are a part of your development process built into the structures. So these are the few things which I see coming up in our environment today in software development.
Thank you. So I guess the themes emerging are pretty much common, right? There is low code platform, cybersecurity, but one good thing that Avinash just mentioned was about the integration with the emerging payment gateways. And as we go into multi-cloud architectures, the landscape definitely is getting a little complex, and it is getting a little jazzy, as I can call it. So moving on, are there any additional themes which around the table anyone wants to highlight? Babita, would you want to take a?
Yeah, this one, Parandeep has mentioned as of like we cannot wait for security to deliver the product. So that is the biggest concern which we CISOs have, because in the fast pace of coming up with automated solution, there are always loopholes which are left around for fraudsters to get into the system. So always we have to make sure that secure by design is what need to be followed at each phase before the architecture is being designed in for. From that level, the data flow, everything should be well incorporated with the security measure so that a rework can be avoided and loopholes in the system can be identified well in advance. And we can come up with some technological methodologies with which we can prevent it or mitigate it or all those stuff. And now it is a fast moving world where we have to go with the technology and there is no other way. And as mentioned by Mr. Avinash and Amit, now we are in the world of AI, data analytics and all, but data is a mine wherein we all are working with. So how to secure the data? Before just by rolling out the product, and Varun also mentioned that the customers who are using the product doesn't know how securely it can be used. So it is our responsibility who come up with the product to ensure that what all things might go wrong at the customer end is captured well in advance, and we take care of it from within the system itself. For example, if a lot of frauds are happening from the customer end with the payment gateways and all. So in such cases, from the system level itself, the mobile app itself, it's able to identify that any screen sharing application is available in the mobile. The system itself should stop working. That OTP should not be forwarded. Even if the forwarded OTP is being used, SIM binding should be done for the verification of the OTP. So that kind of technological advancement should be kept in mind. That is what secure by design. We have to think in that way also what can go wrong. And come up with a solution when we deliver the product from the initial phase itself. So that's my thought. All other things is already covered by others.
Yeah. Have you also seen compliance as code in your banking space that maybe there's a trend in the market where you kind of adopt a tool that automatically scans through all your development codes along the process journey, along the development of the application?
Yeah, here one of the challenge, one more thing which I would like to highlight from the security aspects is now the code development. People who are developing I will say the responsibility of security of a solution, software development lies with the developer. Because the person who developed the software, he himself should be educated enough about the security aspect of it. It's very difficult to identify the vulnerability in the software. It should be identified well, because many times people like us, where in BFSI, we might be purchasing the solution from some other people. We may not be having the source code with us. We nowadays we are, as per the regulatory requirement, we are asking for integrity certificate. Even from the integrity certificate perspective, when they are giving the integrity certificate, they will be telling that this is as per the baseline code. Okay, but when it comes to our thing, it will be a customized one. And that customized part is what will be creating a problem tomorrow. And the integrity certificate doesn't stand good for that. So these kind of challenges are there. So the people who are developing the software and giving the software should be confident enough to tell us that. So that kind of confidence, knowledge should be available with the vendors as well as the developers who are coming up with the solution. So I feel that now that is lacking in the system. And that is what, for example, many a times I have come across situations wherein people are just copy pasting in source code from GitHub, which might be giving command and control kind of thing to an external world, which we will be coming to know on a very later stage, only after deploying the solution for almost 6 months.
True.
So that is a really threatening phase that now we call as a third-party vulnerability.
True.
Now supply chain and third party is the most worrying part which we are working for.
Sure, sure. We will come into security at a little bit later stage of the discussion as well. But it's a good point that you touched on. So I'll move on. Sunilji, what is your opinion about the trends you are seeing in your industry?
Yeah, so so it is not different to what our other co-panelists mentioned about, and it is the same thing. The only difference is we are more into B2C kind of an. But no, we have a we are into specifically into housing finance. We provide finance or maybe a housing finance or home loans to the customers, and that is what the products which we have. And again, we have a very limited scope from an transformation point of view. But again, stated that it is also very important for us to have a strategy, to have a kind of a SDLC or a software development lifecycle in place, and that would have those relevant controls in place. And that is what we have thought of, and we have implemented in the similar fashion what others have mentioned. And again, the challenges are same. Again, the trend is in. We also have, when you talk about customers, so earlier customers were used to come to the branches, we used to serve customers, but now as the new normal, or maybe the new normal, or maybe a normal back to the normal, so the customers are willing to have everything digitally. They want to have a different user experience or customer experience, and that is what we also working towards kind of a digital transformation where now we give a good experience to the customers in a no contact kind of a scenario. And so a lot of such technology we also use from an RPA, from an AI ML point of view, and that is what we do as of and again, this is going to be a trend, and this is going to be used a lot in coming years. And security as a CISO, we have a lot of challenges to manage this entire life cycle, and so we have integrated a lot of tools and technologies as part of that. Again, it's not that we are 100%. It's always there will be challenges, and we will be working on those gaps and fixing those gaps, and see how it works. So that is a kind. That's what I wanted to summarize from my side.
Sure. So moving to the next topic, and don't go anywhere, Sunilji, I'm coming to you only. So the next topic is around the new ways of working, right? So have you seen, so agile is one, right, where we have kind of self-organizing teams now, not common norm. It's a norm right now in the industry, right? What are the other ways of working you may have come across, which you can think of in the application development space?
See, as I mentioned, we are a very small team. We don't have that much, and again, we are not a development company, software development company. So we have a lot of COTS applications. We have taken SaaS applications. So we don't actually do development from a system point of view or from an application point of view. But again, yeah. So ways of working. We have not seen any change of working here. It's a normal practice which we follow here, and there is no change in that. Only thing is from an CI/CD or from an integration point of view, where we get those inputs and then we integrate as part of our SDLC cycle, and then have those relevant security checks. So these are all the standard practice which we follow from an SDLC point of view, and again. maybe other co-panelists can give us a more deep insight on what are the other practices they follow. But from BHFL or from an housing finance point of view, company point of view, or from an insurance or from an home finance point of view, we don't see any much other change or other ways to manage that part.
Sure. I totally understand. Varun Devji, would you be interested in taking this?
So, Saurabhi, largely we follow only two approaches. One is the DevOps way of work, and other one is the Agile. And few very typical processes we still have to follow waterfall, because that there is no other way of doing it. However, on all adopting any of these ways of work, one thing I believe there are few things in common which is important. One is the communication and collaboration among the teams. Any process, any methodology which inhibits it, it is not going to be relevant. So first we need to make sure that in rush to follow any ways of work which is created in my, like hype is there, or like it is we wish to adopt because everybody else is doing it. So me too doesn't work. Like we have Sunil mentioning that we are a very small team. So probably they will figure out a hybrid way of working rather than adopting what works for that. And what I believe is that we should have a concurrence from the best practices. However, we should follow what works best for us in terms of good practices that get aligned with the business goals and the technology goals that we are going to achieve. Other thing is that we should be mindful of the time. Like here we follow sprints and scrums, right? However, when the teams are very small, we should also understand the ceremonies that we are doing in order to do that are also consuming time. And the business or the developments we have to deliver that may not give us that much of liberty of time. Other thing which I believe, which Babita also covered, and I believe every CISO on this call would agree, that the security is not a responsibility of a AppSec or InfoSec guy who is just, or a SAST tool or DST tool that we have built in the pipeline. It is responsibility of everyone. It is like the people at every layer should understand. Even at the design layer, when we are creating user journeys, we have to map attacker journeys at that point in time, so that we know where are the areas of vulnerability which are there. Other thing, this is more from the customer facing application point of view, where you are trying to figure out what are the ways where security breaches can happen. From internal development perspective, here people should also understand why something is being done, right? And it is also important that while like here I am a great fan of the manufacturing processes, where if there is something wrong, anybody in the process, anybody in the loop can pull the chain to stop the manufacturing process. Unfortunately, while we have mechanisms in the software development process where we build pipelines in order to achieve that, the chain rarely gets pulled. And that is the reason why we say, okay, I have developed, you figure out the issues or bugs later. So I believe in all the ways of work that we are there, our development teams, our BAs, our project managers, our AppSec guys, QA guys, even the business users should collaborate, figure out what is important, what is critical for that particular application. See, everything doesn't have, it doesn't require every ways. Even if you talk about the standard project management practices, which we have, like PMBOK is there, it only gives you a guideline. It doesn't, it forces you to follow everything. So here, whenever you are defining any ways of work that is going to work for you, you have to find out what fits best and what is critical, right? Obviously, there are certain things which will remain non-negotiable. How you will accommodate them into your process, like if you have QA and you want to save time, you will automate the regression processes. If security is of importance, you automate that. Wherever automation is possible, automation should happen, in order to make sure that you are not compromising on certain components and ways of work which are important for your survival. Like if I talk about financial organizations, they cannot compromise on security. And the bad part is that why, like the good part about pandemic that happened, that it brought up a lot of such areas. The bad part is that many of the organizations don't even know that they have got breached. Like a standard, if you go by statistics, it says that some organizations even take 3 to 4 years in order to discover that they have got breached. So whatever ways of work are there, they should take care of these. While standards exist, however, we should optimize and align ourselves according to the needs of the business and keep evolving, keep on figuring out. And one thing I would say here with an ending note, that local discoveries should become input to the global improvements that you are doing across the organization as a part of ways of work.
Very well said, ma'am. Thank you so much for a wonderful
Just,
note. Dileepa,
just,
yeah, please, Avinash.
just to give a different perspective also, today, more so in terms of personalization, it has become very critical. The mass personalization has become front stream, and it is like more so how are we connecting to the user and the feedback. So it's very important today. All the development processes are getting oriented towards handling the customer data and privacy of those. It's more important that customer behavior with your products is more important than just showing them the data. So that has become a forefront for a development aspect today. Secondly, it's completely a data-driven approach which is coming to the fore, where companies are trying to derive business insights. Of course, AI, ML, robotics is generating a lot of data, and all this data needs to be, unfortunately, we still don't take decision based on data. It is still kind of a board feel and kind of scenario. But data-driven deployment is slowly coming to fore, especially when these AI tools are coming to the forefront. The remote environment is also pushing us the development in kind of a remote product development, so that development can be put into components and consolidated. So no more that you have to have kind of a concentrate area or a connection where you have to do remote deployment. Remote product development has come to fore. And lastly, everything put together, it's like more of a predictive analysis which is coming to the fore. So our tool is predicting data or predicting outcomes is more important than just displaying static information. And that is trying to be coming into all the development aspects and will come to fore. So the outlook has to change, like how are you going to do it? Because things are changing so fast. Web 3.0 is coming up. You have single page applications which will be raising. There is a motion design visually guides, micro architecture. Edge computing is forcing for development to be in a serverless like computing environment. So all these things are really pushing the envelope to a higher degree of complexity.
Sure, sure. Himanshri, can you take up the, do you want to take the floor and discuss what are the different ways of working you are seeing at Fidelity?
Sure. See, and there's one thing I noticed, and maybe if I can just talk about that as well, what Varundeep said. See, in terms of security being everyone's responsibility, definitely it should be. Everybody should be aware, should be doing the right thing, should have the ability to pull the chain. But from a cyber governance perspective, it's essential that we give accountability to individuals. That's how we do it here as well. And specifically talking about the controls we are building, or generally as well, what I've seen in the industry, talking to the peers. See, shift left is there, of course, no doubt. CI/CD pipeline, it's there. Working in the cloud environments, definitely that's the way to go about it, right? IAC we all spoke about, required, the way it helps us. Yes, it will be there. Now with everything being there, how do we ensure that the right set of security controls, governance, oversight is there? And again, if I can break that down in terms of what I'm seeing, what I'm working on currently, what I keep discussing on day-to-day basis with my team members. One, our a SaaS tool. How do we do the assessment of the code? How do we make sure the first time the code gets delivered is defect-free, it is free of any security vulnerabilities, the application has to the standards, right? Put that tool. It may be a check marks, it may be something else in the pipeline. Let the developers do it. Give a security champion over there. Maybe not all developers will like to get to that level. I mean, we would like to, but they will not have the bandwidth to learn as much. But definitely for 10, 20, 50 developers, the way we all are structured or the kind of organizations we represent, we can choose one security champion, a security ninja, whatever we choose to call him or her. this person can be made responsible for ensuring that the application, the first time they are developed, they go through a security testing of the code. Similarly for DAST, how do we make sure even DAST, at least the automated PT is done in the pipeline? Manual PT, I don't think we can do it, right? That will still stay with the centralized AppSec team where we'll need those resources. That's one thing we need to do along with SaaS, DAST also. One important point, I think what we touched upon, and I heard some people talk about the use of GitHub, the use of libraries, components. Let's face it, it is there to stay. People will use, it is beneficial for them to use reuse components, taking the same analogy of manufacturing. It is there to stay, right? And this is how people will go faster. But of course, how do we make sure we are able to secure the open source components being used? Again, I'm looking at a tool like an SCA tool, a software composition analysis tool, which will look at the components used in the dependencies of a particular code. That again, ideally, my developers should be running whenever they are doing their coding, centralized also. Look at Log4j, right? When Log4j came, we all struggled to identify where the hell it is used, right? That was the first question we all were asking ourselves. Maybe some had inventory, maybe some didn't have inventory, but a tool like SCA could have really helped there to understand where all we are using it. So to sum it up, what we are saying, these tools, three on top of mind right now: SaaS, DAST, SCA, shift left, integrate to the pipeline, DevSecOps, enable, train all your people, but make sure you have security champions who ensures these are run. But most importantly, have a centralized CISO functions or governance function. One question I have is, and probably, I'll leave it for our folks here to answer that from Whittington. How do we get a dashboard out of that? Now we are shifting left everything, right? How do I ensure that my developers are doing what they should be doing? What are those policies going to be? What are those numbers I will see? Today, my team does it. I know what my apps team is doing, what my VM team is doing. They give me a dashboard. I have tools. I have governance. Once it's shift left, as a CISO, as a governance function, how do we ensure those numbers and RAG statuses and what is fixed, what is not fixed?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Dileepa, would you like to take the floor and discuss your opinion about the transformation trends and new ways of working? Dileepa, are you there? We can't really hear you.
Dileepa, I think he's trying to unmute. Are you connected to the audio? I think he's trying to connect and disconnect again and again. So there's some problem with the audio.
Sure. We'll come back to him. Moving on to the next topic. So while we have seen a lot of trends, a lot of new styles that are getting introduced, security being one of the, it continues to be one of the important concerns around the world. Let's just discuss about the continuous improvement and continuous delivery, how we see that this is getting more and more incorporated in the entire delivery process, from the new product initiation till it goes to the market. So are there any trends that you see in CI/CD space? Amit, can I start with you, if that's okay with you?
Yeah, I think it is all orchestration of different tools and how you measure and how do you perform, as Himanshu very nicely brought out, that yes, there are a lot of tools that are going to come in, but more you shift the focus, or more you shift the onus of the responsibility, the focus or availability of those metrics should be there at all those to all the people. I think in that direction, a lot of, in fact, there are web applications getting developed with no code available, absolutely. And, it is becoming a little riskier that if I have to do a VAPT of this, or if I have to do some kind of a secure code analysis, I don't have a code available with me. You know? With serverless architecture and with services being provisioned by all the cloud people, I don't have a code by which I'm building anything. I'm using SNS, SQS, the notification services, query services, sending out the data from. I'm only moving the data around and building very, very small things on these services. So, the traditional model of SDLC and CI/CD pipelines, I think, are being challenged with the serverless architecture on the cloud, and how those applications are being built to deliver. So, this is something new and unique which is happening, and it is evolving. I'm not very sure how the tools that we have built over a period of time and created a very sequential pipeline of integration and development, how it is going to look like in the newer format of things coming up. We are building applications for customers, and we are starting to build such kind of products as well, wherein we are actually evolving how to test this from a security standpoint. And this is, I think, the trend that is going to happen. It'll all be serverless and low code or no code kind of infrastructure or an area of development.
Sure. Yeah, very well said. Himanshu, do you want to add to what Amit said?
No, I think same point. I think Amit, great kind of inputs that you are giving. Uh, Very valid. And again, same thing I ask, my team, I ask myself as well. Once we go on AWS, right, and we start using these technologies, EKS, ECS, what is first of all that we have to manage? And when my team tells me we are going, they're using an EC2 or an S3 bucket or AKS, ECS, and we again have a cloud security separate team, cloud operations team. If I try to understand from them as well, are they clear in their mind what needs to be done? I don't think as an industry we are there yet. And other day I was attending a conference, and the context which we all came to was that we thought cloud will solve all our security problems, but it has increased our security problems, right? And that's where we are. Cloud has done that. It was supposed to be a savior for us, but yeah, we've got more work, more positions to be hired, more skills to be developed, more problems to be solved. Yeah. So no answer I have for that, Surbi, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm sure everybody's smiling, everybody's laughing. So we all on the same boat.
Yeah, Himanshu, it's for the first time I am hearing that someone is telling that cloud will give a solution for security. So just, sorry, I have to leave now. I have one more meeting. I just want to give a concluding word that technology is two-sided sword. Okay. Now we are entirely going for automation, and every system has a learning phase. During this learning phase, how we are going to tackle, that is what we have to think about. So thank you all. It was a wonderful session. Sorry that I have to leave now.
No, thank you, Babita ji. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
To add to Himanshu's thoughts, one of the reports of BCG said that 70% of all issues and vulnerabilities and exploits and hacks are because of human error. Now, it is not intentional. Intentional piece is just about 10%. Major chunk is how do you configure cloud, the misconfiguration errors, the known and the unknowns. There are far too many variables and far too many pieces to be put together with the cloud that it becomes very difficult. And in a physical infrastructure, okay, data is moving from this place to this place to this place. In cloud, it is moving probably not even from one browser window of yours to another browser window. So little tricky to understand and appreciate. But yes, this is a learning phase, I think, for a lot of us in the community.
It reminds me of that time in 2000s, early 2000, 2005. Somebody would say security, immediately you'll think about a firewall. If you had more budget, going for an IDS. And if you were a super rich company, going for an IPS. And that's where it stopped. And then came that whole idea about identity is the new parameter. Everybody started focusing on passwords and identity and stuff. And today, where we are sitting, we have these ISOs, NIST, CSF, CIS benchmarks for all these servers. right? So I think we've come a long way from that early 2000 to now. I think for cloud, we are there right now. We are at that firewall and IDS and IPS being the entire security gamut for us. We are standing there. And in next 5 years, 10 years, we'll have those controls crystalled out, written somewhere. I know it's there. People will come up with the CCSP and other controls and stuff. Yes, it's there. But at least I still struggle to understand what is the environment, what needs to be protected, and what is my responsibility, what is AWS responsibility, what my cloud security team will tell me, what my BAU team, my vulnerability scanning team will do, what my AppSec team will do. Right.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
we need some good thoughts, I think thought leadership to come in that area, some standards, some frameworks to come out in that area is what I think is required right now.
Sure, sure. So if I have to look at a different angle to this conversation, Himadri, are you there?
Yeah.
So what are the challenges that you feel the industry comes to you with for continuous improvement in their development space?
See, yeah, thanks, Surbi. Surbi, even what everybody has said, and that's quite correct. That what is the challenges they have is obviously here we are trying to talk about what Mr. Himanshu said, that in the process, at the CI/CD or the delivery level, right? There are challenges where all the developers may or may not know what exactly and at what level the security challenges are arising. But one thing I would like to answer, which Himanshu have asked about, that as a CISO of the organization, right, when we are talking about shifting left of the security, what is the dashboard can be provided? So Samir, are you there? Yeah, so Samir, I think
Yep,
he will
I'm
be able
here.
to answer that. What is the, yeah, so Samir, if you can highlight on this aspect, that how our tool GitLab or platform GitLab can actually provide this kind of a solution where
Yes.
all the CISOs of the organization can actually see, if from a single dashboard, that what all security vulnerabilities are there.
Thank you very much. And first of all, let me acknowledge that this is the most useful Friday night evening I've spent this year. Thank you very much. That's an awesome discussion. Just to collect on some of the thoughts I heard today, which is awesome, that security is becoming everybody responsibility across. It's not anymore the CISO team responsibility. And I agree with him. As you are bringing the flexibility with the cloud towards the developers, you are basically exposing yourself more, because with that agility, you are giving more keys of the kingdom to the developers, to the operations, to the team, to have more. So in GitLab, this is one of the things we're trying to help customers to achieve. I hear today the shift left, which is basically to bring security as much as possible, as close as possible to the developer, while the developer is doing that. Also, I hear today the policies point. So applying or forcing, not applying, forcing security policies that things have to be scanned while the development is happening, and this is very important, and not on the main code, which will go to the production, and I'm sure I can see many gray hair here on the call. I'm sure you have all seen that night before production where we are. If the testing happen, where we have to make a decision either to lower the expectations or to push the release date. So we are trying to avoid that by applying policies as early as possible, scan things while the development and where the development is happening, and also make or provide enough data to whoever making the decision that this is a safe code to go into the production with all the vulnerabilities that have been found. And when I say vulnerabilities, I mean everything, the SCA, the dynamic static scanning license, secrets detection. You know what? With the cloud, I have seen instances where secret key have been exposed, like clear text in the code, and reach the production. Trust me, reach the production, And this is so secret detection. As much as it looks very, very straightforward, is something we need to keep on testing. The other thing I hear today is around governance and reporting, right? So it is about to have an instant view on how things are going today across all the projects and across all places or everywhere where the source code is being developed. So this is one of the things we also provide or enable customers to do. I don't want to take a long time, but that's just the last thing. Today, CI/CD technology is mature enough, like DORA matrices are there, right? At the same time, security matrices are there. How many vulnerabilities found in my code, on my branches across the code, and what are the criticality? Last thing is, it's not about what I'm scanning, it's about communicating the scanning or keeping tracking of the scanning results. Many times I've seen where customers have run the scanning results are awesome results, but the devil in details, they are lost in communication between what has been scanned to what has been fixed. And then we are back to square one. So this is where GitLab is connecting, because it's just one platform, right? So it's connecting between the finding of the security, and then you have either you fix it or you put it on the backlog to be fixed. It's not disappear. So I'll just stop there because I may take long time after that. Yep.
Sure. Varundeep, you had your hand raised.
I just wanted to add, while everybody has covered, on CI/CD, in my opinion, what I find challenging is most that implementing a CI/CD tool requires a lot of scripting to be done, which that is the trend where we are seeing a declarative pipelines be coming in place, where people don't have to focus on some things which is non-core for them. They spend a lot of time in creating the pipelines where they should be focusing more on what engineering teams need to deliver. One thing is that. Other thing is that CI/CD tools usually fail to give us an insight in terms of like the release frequency and the technical debt and the perceived quality that we are producing, and the kind of like the deliveries that are happening. So here, as we always will have business pressure, businesses will say, and then developers will compromise on one thing or another, what they feel is going to be is compromisable. However, if there is a matrix, like Himanshu said, that dashboard needs to be there. Here we should also need to know like what is the quality of delivery that is going, right? Not in terms of like what checklists that we have implemented, but there will be certain deliveries which are pushed into production. If you were given an opportunity, you would have never pushed them, right? So that kind of visibility doesn't come from that CI/CD tools. And what thing is like as the environment changes, like you are working on-prem, then you are moving on to cloud, or your methodology, like you follow TDD, you follow BDD, you follow DDD. So there your approach, your tools that change. Then you have to focus, okay, and then there are vendor lock-ins. If you implemented something, you cannot shift on to another. So here, what I feel the trends or what usable CI/CD tools which we are looking at is that here we are able to see what metrics to measure, and that should be there. If I have to change my environments frequently, I need not worry, or I should not be concerned how will my CI/CD processes will work, right? And the third thing is that how can I correlate my release frequency with the technical debt? The faster the release deliveries are, that means you are going to create a lot of technical debt, whether the teams agree or disagree. Under business pressure, teams do deliver something which is suboptimal at times. However, it is important that feedback is available, and also these CI/CD tools should give us an environment where we can create an environment of psychological safety, where they are not focusing on who did it, but rather what went wrong. And that is where we can figure it out, and how a similar kind of repetition. So it will also help me prioritize what needs to be fixed, because most of times when there is a problem, we usually patch rather than to follow a full-fledged approach, because we say there are a lot of other deliveries, let's patch it, let's make the functionality work, and we will come back to that later, and that later never comes. So here, if CI/CD tools are also giving me a kind of a visibility that such kind nature of problem is repetitive in nature, and it is causing me so and so, because every issue may not cause you a financial loss, right? And it may not become evident to my business users or everybody across unless and until it leads to a financial loss or a reputation loss. So that is where CI/CD tools should, while they incorporate, they let you stitch quality tools or DAST or SAS tools. However, there is no correlation as of now, which I feel that is there, and that should not ask me to write too much of a code.
Understood. Understood. Thank you for your thoughts. Dileepa, are you available? Can we? Yeah. Yes, we can hear you now.
Do you have any thoughts on CI/CD in the application development space? Your voice is a little feeble, Dileepa. Not very clear though. Would you try joining the bridge back? Okay. So let me shift my focus towards people who have not spoken too much. Avinash, would you want to take the floor and discuss your views on CI/CD?
Okay, I think I will speak a lot, but as in panels, I'm the me and maybe Varun Deep are only two CIOs here.
Sure.
But primarily, is the value stream mapping into CI/CD tools, wherein you look at that value stream which is coming up, whether what is the contribution of the development towards continuous improvement. That means we don't have processes which don't add value need to be reduced or eliminated. So try to look at eliminating waste in your codes wherever we can. It's not adding value to the endpoint, and look at it. So the root causes of your products, issues, bugs, and have a kind of a value stream management practice which can visualize the complete workflow, how it is working in each state, where is it adding value, where is it going into loops, how can we reduce the interruptions into it, how to manage the flow, and create a feedback loop for the development team and ensure it's like continuous. That
Yeah, that's nicely summarized. Sunil, would you want to put some thoughts around CI/CD?
It's already very well covered by Varun and Avinash and other people also. So I think there is nothing left out. But again, from an best practice point of view, what I just additional thing which I know everybody I think missed out is a kind of an maturity model which we should focus on, because that is what will give us a kind of a discipline when we have a particular process or a strategy in place. So that is the only thing which I can add from my end.
Sure, sure. So we briefly covered about the governance, risk compliance requirements as well, from the automation standpoint. RPA being one of the driving trends in this space. Also, we discussed about the compliance as a code, the low code environments. I'll still pick up this point and ask if there is any views on the evolving governance, risk and compliance requirements which you may want to add. The floor is open if anyone wants to pick it up first.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Tushar. I was listening to all the esteemed speakers. So I basically lead the pre-sales division of Redington, techno-functional pre-sales. Yesterday I was in Mumbai and I was sitting in front of the trading, broking, commodity exchange honchos. And there specifically the requirement was from the security perspective. Now, got a lot of blasting yesterday. Let me be very transparent to you guys, because those guys were awesome. They have some 25, 30 microservices running in their environment. They wanted they wanted mission critical, ultra low latency applications have been deployed on the hyperscaler. They want a thorough vulnerability scanning, vulnerability testing, pen testing at each and every level, going down to the container scanning, into the secrets, the egress and the ingress data which is coming. Are you equipped with XDR and EDR? Do you do CM and SOAR? That is the security identification, event management, and orchestration with automated remediation. So those were the kind of questions which came up, and there were their CISOs, CIOs, CTOs. If there is a downtime of even 5 seconds, RBI calls them, or the Ministry of Finance. So that is the kind of requirement which they had when I was discussing with them. So and obviously, as the esteemed panelists have really mentioned, the integration of the SAST and DAST, the dashboarding, do we have that kind of competency or the expertise pertaining to my question would be to Samir, specifically from the GitLab's perspective, because that's what I was pitching in big time, being an automated DevOps platform, but that is the kind of requirement which we are getting from the top-notch honchos in the BFSI segment, I would say.
Sure. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Samir, please go ahead.
Yeah. I hope you got my query, because I wanted to touch base with you on this, and those are the asks where they have the applications being developed on Golang, Elixir, C++, Node.js, and in line with the OWASP. So the binaries which they have implemented is in line with the OWASP, and they want the ask is thorough pen testing and vulnerability assessment, load testing, vulnerability scanning, version control, dashboarding at each and every stage, mission critical applications with 25, 30 microservices running in the environment.
Yep. This is a very interesting situation. In such environments, the biggest challenge is in the diversity of programming languages they are using. And in normal cases, you will end up having a separate vertical tool for each of these solutions, and then integrate them. And then, as everybody was saying, having the dashboards and making sure that they are implemented. Now, good thing is in GitLab, in the same platform, I can bring in all of these, different projects. And you mentioned they are doing microservices. When we translate that into the source code or CI/CD automation, that translates into capabilities like parent-child pipelines, multi-projects pipelines, because this is where, yes, I'm doing source code management, but I still want to build a pipeline that itself a microservice. The other day, I did a recording on how to translate microservice programming architecture into CI/CD, right? And this is where it becomes the ability to integrate and call each other. Now, the other thing is, because in GitLab security, for example, SAST is just one line of code. Sorry.
Samir, I'm sorry to cut you. In the interest of time, we are on the top of the hour, and I think we have other panelists also. May I request you to pick it up maybe at the end of the session?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
If that is okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
So for the closing remarks, I'll just pass on the bait into Avnish. Avnish, do you want to take it?
Thank you so much. In fact, before we close, we had one general question that we always ask everyone. We like the same time next year, same place. What do you think that we'd all be discussing? Probably that you would have done in the next 1 year. What exactly do you think is your focus that you're looking at in the next 1 year? I mean, it can start from anyone here. Sunil, Himanshu, Avinash, anyone.
a lot of thoughts come to mind. Ideally, pipelines, fully automated, SaaS, DASH, SCA running, a dashboard there. Now we're just struggling to identify, fixing some, loose ends. Just talking about, some controls not working, right? This is what I'm thinking. And like Tushar is talking about, what he's talking about is a full blown security program, right? While some of us have it in bits and pieces, right? My only wish would be that next year, same time, we have it more mature as per some defined standard, like we have, at the servers end, like CIS or something, and more set of comprehensive tools, integrated tools, right? Like something which like GitLab is promising us can take care of security across the pipeline, SaaS, Dash, SC. I'm hoping, I'm just speaking, I'm just doing my wish list, and with a capability to dashboard and see where we are. That's my wish for next year.
Avinashji, what do you have to say on this? You're on mute, sorry.
Yeah, looking at the current environments and the way we are shifting, not only the agility, even the environment is very agile. Looking at the war scenarios, looking at your pandemics, I'm really not sure what will happen next week. So commenting about next year is too difficult.
Avnish, you're on mute.
Sunil, what do you have to say on that? Any comments from your end? Mr. Kulkarni, you.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were asking to somebody else. Okay. So our focus is considering the transformation which we have. So we will be focusing more on the automation part to simplify the process. What we have in currently, which is a lot of manual process that we have, to simplify this whole process. Again, it's not only application which we, or maybe the transformation is something which we're looking at. We're looking at a complete enterprise, the organization, where we also have a lot of other threats which can get into our system. So we also are trying to get more advanced versions, trying to implement more automated incident response kind of a technology. So that is what is the plan for next 1 year. But again, as mentioned by Avinash, is something we're not sure about what will happen and how things will change. So we are very flexible in managing those relevant threats, and we are ready for that kind of an scenario. That's what for mine.
I think that's a very, very valid point for everyone here. Varunji, what do you have to say? What are your thoughts in the next 1 year that you think would be focusing on?
Right. So in CI/CD, I wish to see CI/CD tool where just becomes transparent for engineering teams. They don't have to work a lot in terms of configuration of that. Dashboards is something everybody asked for. That is the thing. And third thing, I believe that the integration plugins and libraries should be available for most common environments. Fourth and last thing, which I usually find difficult, is on the database side. We usually have to write a lot of scripts in order to push the changes to database. If CI/CD tools can incorporate that, so that it will be a seamless implementation, and we can do a lot in terms of governance, risk management from that perspective, because that is one open area which I always feel is there.
Just a comment, like automation was the most specialized. In past 6 months to a year, that notion has been changed for IT. I mean, everybody has such a fine specialization coming in. It's becoming so difficult and complex to predict and bring things together. I mean, it's really need to take a pause and consider those things.
Avnish, you're on mute if you're saying something.
Very common. So I say thank you so much for joining in, and I think we've had some really amazing discussions. I would just pass it on to you, Samir. Any closing remarks from your end, please?
Yeah, thank you so much, Avnish, and thank you, all the attendees to join it. I will take a liberty. Himanshu, as you were saying that you are still confused, what is EKS, what is ECS, what is all this happening, we at Reddington, along with GitLab, we are conducting regular GitLab India summits. And that is the next summit we are conducting in the very first week of September, along with Avnish and Contemporary Marketing only. And that is where Samir is only going to be presenting and talking about how to deploy on AWS from GitLab. So we will be talking about how we are going to deploy on EC2, EKS, ECS, or Lambda services on AWS through GitLab. I think that will certainly interest all of you and all your colleagues. Please tell them to join the event. I think Avnish will be able to share the invitation to all of you and be part of our continuous engagement that we are driving at the moment through our GitLab India Summit, that we are running almost one single summit every quarter. And hopefully, I think there will be a more better discussion will happen when we will connect with you individually, and we'll try to tell you what GitLab can offer after understanding today's discussion from all of you, that what your challenges are. Then we will sit with you and try to tell you the solution that GitLab can offer through that. So thank you so much to all of you for joining. Anybody else, like Samir, would you like to take it up? Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much again for this this opportunity. Sorry, Avnish.
No, sorry, I couldn't see. Please carry on.
No, thank you. And yeah, for me, the wish list is next year we will be in one room, and yeah, we can all conduct this face to face. This is wonderful discussion, and it really shows that the need in the market, and the market is sensing the need for security as an integrated part of the whole process. Thank you.
So with this, I think we conclude the session. Thank you so much. Have a very pleasant evening and a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Surbhi. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.